So I just got out of a book club. My friend Michelle is an excellent facilitator, and she is doing a book club series again, and it's on Patreon. Um, and she's just super dope. She's really smart, asks really great questions. Like she's fabulous. And we're doing this book called Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown, and it's from what I understand, because we just did the introduction and the first chapter, it's basically, the many emotions that we experience as human beings. And the first chapter was focused on um, uh, stress, overwhelm, the places that we go to when life is too much, right? And it feels very on point for the world right now. And so I think that this book is just incredible. But one of the questions that she asked that really, really got to me during this book club, she said, what are some things that you hold on to? What are some things that you hoard, for lack of a better word? I'm kind of paraphrasing now. And what does that say about what you value? And I don't know why the color, that's so weird. Hmm. The color's going in and out there on my shoulder, and I don't understand why. That is so strange. Um, so that's the question, right? What do you hold on to? What do you tend to hoard? What do you tend to hold on to, right? And then what does that say about what you value? And as someone who has moved a lot over my life, my adult life, I look at this apartment right now, and this place came furnished. Almost every apartment I have lived in as an adult came with some kind of furnishings. And I feel like every place I've moved, whether it was, the different apartments I lived in New York City when I was living there for 6.5 years in my 20s, or when I left and then went to South Korea, then came back to the States, then moved to St. Croix, came back to the States, then moved to Mexico, right? Like all these different little, I've been bopping around for a few years at this point. You know, I when she first asked the question, I was thinking in terms of material. And I was thinking in terms of like the differences between my family of origin and how my parents, were would hoard certain things, hold on to certain things. Like I can still go home and open the fridge and see condiments that are like 3 years old. Right, that have been like they've been rotted for years, and I'm like I'm literally like throwing this stuff away, right? Versus my house, where if you were to look in my refrigerator right now, you would think like, "Is this girl okay?" Like, now granted, I did just go and get groceries, so I'm good now, but, like, I tend to, because of my family of origin and how things were there, I don't tend to hold a whole lot of food, for example. And there's other things too, like, you know, um Michelle had talked about photos and photo albums, right? I don't have a whole lot of, I think I have one photo album that I took with me the last time I was at my parents' house. I took that photo album with me, and it's here in my apartment here in Mexico. But I don't have a whole lot of like sentimental items. Um, but then, I thought about like my Google Drive, which I have stuff that's like 15 years old in there, right? So maybe that's where I hoard. I have like thousands of pictures from like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, all of that. But it really just kind of got me thinking, if I'm someone that doesn't have a whole lot of stuff, like every move I've made, I feel like I've left a little bit of myself. I've left my things. I've left, I'm real quick to just say, throw it out, give it away, maybe sell it if I have time, but I'm not holding on to this. I gotta go. I gotta go to the next place. I gotta go to the next thing. And so because of that, I don't have a whole lot of personal or sentimental belongings. as compared to the normal 42-year-old, right? Who's, maybe settled in a place and they've got a family or they've got a partner and they've got pets and they've got, just the accumulations of life, right? Um, oh my gosh, I just got this image in my head. There was this book. I'm gonna see if I can find it and I'll put it down in the description box if I post this, right? Um, there was a book. Somebody studied this through photojournalism, and they created a they this was this person traveled around the world and took pictures of people surrounded by all of their belongings. And so that like we could all kind of see, like me as an American girl, from the American South, I could see what somebody in rural China might have, like, in their home, right? And I think the pictures were of, like, an aerial view, and it was of the that particular family, and all of their stuff was around them. It surrounded them in a circle. And excuse me, allergies. Every photo, was staged kind of the same, right? So that you could get an idea. And of course, the Americans had pretty much the most stuff. Um, but it was just so cool to see how people to get that view of how different people all over the world lived. I don't know what wow, I haven't thought about that book in ages. I don't even know where that book is now. It's probably packed away somewhere in my parents' house. But it's so interesting, right? Like, and I had told this short little anecdote when we were having the conversation, that I had gone to like there's a sense of longing when I think about the fact that I don't have a home filled with mementos and knickknacks and of the places I've been and the people I've met and the experiences I've had, right? Like, um, I had mentioned going to um, a one of our C-suite folks, one of their houses, somebody that's on my team at my job, and I had gone to her house for the first time in San Francisco, and just walking in, just it felt like a wonderland and it felt like both a wonderland, but also like really comfortable and lived in, but also at the same time, like there were so many different. She had this incredible crystal collection on one wall in her living room. And it just the place felt so much like her and her family. And I just was like, wow, this is in my head. And I can't remember if I said it out loud, but I was like, this is what it looks like to have a life well lived. This feels like a life well lived. This feels like stories. This feels like relationships expressed outwardly in her space. And I was like, oh, that's just so beautiful. And there's a part of me that wants to be, I'm 42 now, but in my 60s and my 70s, I would love to have a home that is filled with mementos from my travels and pictures of friends and family and the family pet sitting by the fire and this item over here that's a memento of my travels and to this place and that this from when I went to Japan and this from when I went to Thailand and this from when I went to Norway and like that's it was very aspirational for me. um and so I I wanted to make this video to kind of commemorate this moment because it feels like a door was opened for me or the questions that Michelle asked specifically during this first book club meeting were so great because I've been a part of other book clubs where you just come in and you it feels a bit like a free for all. And that's not bad, by the way, right? Because some books, right? Like you want to get in and you want to talk about the gossip, you want to talk about the, the way that the author writes and all of these different things like that. There's definitely place for that, right? But this book club in particular is different in that Michelle is a very gifted facilitator and leader, and she asks really great questions, and she set the container beautifully. And it's a small group of folks right now. And when I tell you, we had an hour and a half to talk, and by the time I looked at my clock, like we were all surprised that the hour and a half had gone, like it went like that. It felt like we had only been chatting for 30, 45 minutes, and we look at the clock, it's an hour and a half. Like what? So um, so yeah, it's like it's I'm really excited to go through this book because Michelle is the facilitator of the conversation. Um, and so yeah, I will put the information in the description box. And also, I want to leave you with this question too, right? Like, what do you hold on to? And what does that say about what you value? Um, After kind of discussing it a little bit with the folks in the room, I realized that for me, it's not necessarily physical things that I hold on to, it's memories, you know? And the memories that I tend to hold on to are not always good, right? Like I find myself telling the same stories over and over and over again about how this person did this and how this happened and why did that have to happen and that person was so terrible and blah blah blah. Just stories that tend to um, bring out certain emotions on cue, right? Um, and so that's something I realized in conversation. I was like, oh, I'm an emotional hoarder. I hold on to um, memories and experiences that bring out strong emotion in me. And unfortunately, those strong emotions are not always positive. And so, I I think now when that happens, I'm going to start asking myself in my own mind, like, okay, and how is that helping you? How is this thought, this story, this emotion benefiting you? What can you learn from it? Is there something to learn from it? Or are you just cycling right now? Like, girl, what are you doing? Right? So, um, yeah, I want to leave you with that question. And if you feel good about it, post your response in the comment section. What are you holding on to? What's um what do you hoard? And what does that say about what you value? I think for me, I value experiences. I value the present moment. I value memories. I value movement. Um, to a certain extent, I value change. I don't know if change is the right word. I think exploration is more the right word for me. And I think because of that, I don't always hold on to physical stuff. So, um, yeah, that's all I got. If you're new here, my name is Siobhan, and I am out here on these internet streets talking about agency and the myriad of ways that we as women can create more agency in our lives, have more agency over our lives through solo travel, move abroad, and everyday moments like this one, right? I'll put the information for the book club in the description box. If you have questions, you can hit me up, and I'll talk to you next time.